Dr. Auqaab
عقاب
Alizai,
علزاي أستاذ أدرس
Professor of
الاستراتيجية
Strategic
ومن جنيف معنا للمكسيك.
Studies.
الكل بانتظار
Everybody
الحصول في
is
هذه
waiting to
العلاقات
see that Dr. Auqaab,
وطبعا
Dr. Ali,
الاشقاء
and
لهم دور حقيقة
mediators have been
مذكور
playing a
في
pivotal
كل
role
ما
in
سئل
these
به البرنامج
negotiations,
في
ending
فرنسا وفي
up
باكستان.
with
طبعا تطرق
yesterday's
للتفصيل
session in
القطري ونود أن
Switzerland.
نفهم
So,
ما هي
what is
مواقف
the
الوسطاء فيما
situation
تم
of the mediators
الإعلان عنه في
up
محادثات
to
سويسرا أمس؟
yesterday's
وهو موقف
announcement?
الوسيط الباكستاني،
I'm talking about the
وماذا
Pakistani
المتابعة
mediator
التي
and
يمني
the
بأنها
follow-up
ستشرف
committees who
على تنفيذ
will oversee
مذكرة
the implementation
التفاهم؟
of the MOU.
Well, the mediation didn't really start off on a good setting, especially because when the Iranian team arrived, they were not willing to shake hands with J.D. Vance and his team, Krishna and Witkoff. So that put a little bit of a dampener on the whole session. But I think it was because the Qataris and Pakistan were able to talk to each of the sides to indicate what the gravity of the situation was more than anything else. And I think after a mammoth 18-hour session where J.D. Vance was there, a large part as well, and the Pakistani mediators as well as the Qataris and the Iranians, were able to come to some form of agreement on many issues, such as one of the fundamental issues on the MOU was Lebanon, and Iran was adamant that there should be some movement on that. And I think that the tweets by President Donald Trump really didn't go in the favor of the US and may have disrupted the talks altogether before they even started. But they hung in there because I think all sides recognize that nobody wants to go to war again. Nobody wants conflict again. Nobody in the world, never mind just the parties involved, with the exception of Israel, maybe. And I think this was made apparent by the mediators more than anything else, that this is a momentous point that they've reached and able to meet and talk directly. And I think that is more important than anything to bring two parties together, face to face, leaderships together, face to face, outside Islamabad, outside any other area in Europe for the first time in the world, and able to talk about this and calm the temperatures down, irrespective of what was happening outside Switzerland, in fact. And agreement was made on a deconfliction cell for Lebanon. So there would be a report. The cell would be able to report and mediate between the parties involved in Lebanon and keep tabs on that to make sure the temperatures don't rise again, there's no more conflict, and put pressure on the parties in that respect. We know Israel being the main party involved in aggravating the situation, but also Hezbollah, so that they should back down to some extent, and that would calm the situation to the extent that it would allow the talks to occur. And there was a high-level committee formed also, which would oversee everything. The lower-level committees are the main instruments where Iranian and US mediators and negotiators and technical personnel and professionals in their respective fields negotiate all aspects of the Memorandum of Understanding and eventually also the nuclear issues. And as you noted earlier, one of the speakers did earlier, that Iran has accepted IAEA monitors and inspectors to arrive in Iran. The timetabling on this and the details are yet to be acknowledged and made, and the schedules. But this is something that's very positive. Actually, hanging in there, showing that irrespective of what Israel was doing, irrespective of the tweets and the airwaves and the death threats, that Iran stood there and said, we're going to continue, because they had a massive team of professionals and litigators and political personnel, as well as Pakistan, sending its leadership.
طيب رغم انه ايران كانت موجوده
Iran was there, and they had a high delegation team, on top of which was Mohammad Talibaf and Iraqchi, and there was also the governor of the Central Bank of Iran and a large number of experts in the nuclear program. But that coincided with Pezeshkian's, the Iranian president, to Pakistan. Was it an invitation, or himself he wanted to go there? What is he going to discuss in Pakistan?
Well, the president of Iran wasn't present in the talks. He wanted more of an update and talk to the leadership of Pakistan and exactly what's going on, especially after the tweets by Donald Trump. But I think it is to calm the temperatures. Negotiators needed to understand what was going on more than anything. I think this was to make sure that he was party to all aspects, and no doubt the delegates in Switzerland were important in the respect that they represented him and the government in Iran. But I think leadership was also want to contribute to each other about exactly what's happening and talking to each other. This has been significant throughout this process, by the way, when the president has arrived in Pakistan before and talked to high-level delegations, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan has been to Iran, and the CDF, General Asim Munir, has gone to Iran many times to talk directly. And I think talking directly, there is no other aspect to it, because Iran trusts Pakistan in that respect and wants to get a lowdown, in other words, on exactly what happened from their perspective and what the alternatives are, and also wanted to push a certain aspect as far as he was concerned and his concerns about what is happening in the world, and so that Pakistan would be able to talk directly to the president.
This is why I ask you, Dr. Auqaab, it seems that the Iranians have questions. Perhaps the Pakistani side do have answers for them.
Well, a lot of this is, a lot of the things that happen behind doors are not always transmitted everywhere in the world, primarily because it is so sensitive that there's a lot of divisions in all countries. In the United States domestic environment, you can see the Zionists are really at angst. The pro-Israel lobby is really giving Donald Trump a hard time. In Pakistan, it is about mediating. In Iran, you know that the hardliners are giving a hard time. Not all of them agree with the talks. So it's a matter of making sure that face-to-face talks are the best possible option, rather than transmitting information directly through digital means, because of spying and other unreasonable actions being taken by many different actors who want to disrupt the talks or find intelligence.
Then you have taken me to the point that I really wanted, is that we have two parties in Iran. You have the radicals in Iran who wanted for these negotiations not to happen in the first place, and it seems that there is another party that wants to continue this coordination. This is why I ask you why Pezeshkian went himself to Pakistan, and it seems this what could be understood between the lines. There were many question marks to us, and we wanted to enlighten the viewers. I take my question to Dr. Auqaab, and I would like to ask once again about the mediation efforts. Will there be some sort of interpretation of the development of the talks? Of course, there are committees to follow up, but there are points that are still that needs more discussion and that could blow the whole negotiations apart. How are the mediators prepared for such scenarios?
Well, that's the whole point of mediation in the first place, because there are going to be discussion, there are going to be disagreements and arguments about certain points. And this is where the mediators provide alternatives, maybe lower the temperature, able to talk and shuttle between the different parties, between the US, although they may be direct. There'll be many times when the mediators will be negotiating in the sense that talking to one party, providing information to the other party, looking for alternatives. You know that Pakistan has a long history of its nuclear weapons, for example, developed throughout the 1980s and then opened up to the world in 1998 to show that it was a nuclear weapon state, but that was directly because of India. Irrespective of that, its information, its knowledge base, its understanding of the intricacies of the IAEA and intricacies of the NPT and the necessities of what the Americans want as well as what the Iranians want, they're very much clued up to these things and they're very professional in that respect. In fact, I've been not directly involved, but I'm very much aware of what Pakistan's capabilities are in that respect. And as a result, they have been looking at this situation directly in depth to find alternatives and find opportunities for each party to work towards a periphery and work towards a center and the main issues so that they can start resolving. But first of all, more than anything else, we need to build that trust up. And that's where the mediators come in. Building that trust is more important than anything. Without that trust, even a modicum of it, then everything collapses. And we're at that point at square one again. So the idea is to have some small scale agreements and then build on those agreements towards the larger issues that are at play now. And again, as your previous guest has said, Israel is absolutely adamant that it's probably going to disrupt this.
The Dr. Auqaab Alizai, Professor of Strategic Studies, and thank you very much, gentlemen. Until next time, have a good day.